Winners and losers, Midnight Cluster Work, Melee DPS edition. What's up guys, Petko here. I've been waiting for 6.5 weeks of testing to make this video. I'm gonna talk about all the cluster works of Melee DPSers and are they good, are they bad, and what they mid. I'm gonna talk about the important stuff, highlighting what they've exactly changed, and try to give you a TLDR of the specs for like 2 minutes each spec. Once again, the deeper dive videos are gonna be available for both Ice Events and Warcraft. You can read the articles. I've attached them right here on my spreadsheet. I'll link it for everybody to access it, and I've given some notes for you guys to read if you don't want to listen to the video. Once again, this is very preliminary. We had 6.5 weeks of alpha testing. There's gonna be probably 2.5, 3 more months of beta testing, which means things will likely change or maybe not, but the fundamental of the specs will pretty much remain the way they are right now, unless obviously something magical happens in the weeks to come. Anyway, let's begin. First, let's talk about Feral Druid. Now, Feral Druid is getting a lot of interesting changes. I'm going to show you right now the spec itself. For the people that haven't seen Alpha, the new Apex Talons, in my opinion, are okay. They're not nothing too crazy. As you can see, I've wrote here, just pretty much passive damage, but just boring overall, nothing really changing in your rotation. But there's several things that are changing for Feral Druid, and the first and most important thing is no more Blood Talons. Now, for the people that are playing the spec, that means the spec becomes infinitely easier. No Blood Talons managing, no Swarm, no Brutal Slash, which is very much the biggest prune of the spec in probably the past couple of 5 years or so. Snapshotting also has been almost gone, perhaps only during Tiger's Fury, but that's about it. I firmly believe that like lowering the amount of skill needing to playing Feral is needed for players that are just coming out from, let's say, past expansions, because Feral nowadays is one of the hardest melee to master, and min-max, especially if you have to consider all the dot followings and, you know, check out if you have blood talents, etc. So for me, that's a good thing. You have a new actually talent called Frantic Frenzy, which is pretty much every 45-second infinite burst, and a talent also called Chomp, which solves the energy issues in single target. Now keep in mind, on AoE, energy regen is a lot better. However, there are still pockets of time where you could feel an issue, but overall should be much better than the Warcraft 10. That's pretty much everything for Feral Druid so far. The core rotation plays similar to the Warcraft 10, with several things obviously changed, as I already mentioned. No more buff tracking on Swarm and Brutal Slash, etc. So overall, I would say it's pretty good rework so far. At least not a massive rework, but you know, a pretty good so far. I like it. That's about it. And that's pretty much the general Druid talents. I'm not gonna dive deeper into this, but nothing too interesting happening there for you. Honestly, it's pretty much mostly the same. No significant changes done to that. All right, let's look into the next pick. We're gonna talk about Havoc DH. Okay, so the rework of Havoc DH is not so much of a rework, rather than just pruning the amount of multipliers you can see on the specs themselves. I'm gonna show you in a bit right now. There's several things that I like to optimize and actually talk about. First, for Apex Talons. For the people that do not know, Apex Talons are the new improved version of powerful talents coming in Midnight, which are only 4, and you can opt in not to take them, but every single spec is probably going to want to have them. Anyway, short story long, Apex Talents of Havoc DH will make your hunt pretty much an AoE ability. I'm going to show you right now. Let me just switch to Havoc, but your hunt becomes is gonna target multiple targets, which is again is gonna bring the AoE impact from that very high. Pretty much on top of this, passive damage, as you can see here, more damage to blade dance, and focus around your I-beam. Right, that's pretty much what you tier set. Your Apex Talents are on about. Yeah, I think generally speaking, more passive damage, more AoE. Who would say no to that? Okay, so as I already mentioned, pruning multiple multipliers. Core rotation is similar. Very similar to the Warcraft 10 if you already played Havoc DH there, but defensive-wise, you might become one of the tankiest specs so far. You have double blur, which that blur has baked in Netherwolf for the first couple of seconds, so pretty much once you press blur, you also get a short immunity. You also have a point to, every time you interrupt, you get spell damage reduction. I think the talent was somewhere here. Let me just try to find it. Oh, also, Immolation Aura has a chance. Immolation Aura removes disease effect on you or curse effect, depending on what you're having. I can't find a talent right now, but I'm pretty sure there was a talent where you were getting also damage reduction once you used your interrupt. I'm gonna try to find it for you guys, but it was something that I really liked to have because it reminds me of Shaman. If you guys haven't played Shaman, oh, here we go, Demon Muzzle. Interrupting a spell with Disrupt decreases your magical damage taken by 15%. All magical DR 15% every 12 seconds is actually massive upgrade here, which is, again, people have been having issues living as Havoc DH. Trust me, with the Leech combined, with the double blur and Netherwalk baked inside, you're never gonna die. Okay? Oh, I guess it's not never say never, especially if verse not your main stat, but yeah. Essence Break pain point has been clear. Pretty much Essence Break becomes much easier to play around. You don't have to scratch your head and be like, oh shit, do I have to hold for my meta, this and that. Much easier to play. Straightforward. And last but not least, Glaive Tempest can be passive, which means more global cooldowns inside your rotation, which brings easier rotation, right? So some people have been complaining Havoc is too hard. Nowadays, I would say Havoc will be easier in Midnight compared to the War Within 100%. So if you have never tried Havoc, maybe this expansion is good for you. Overall, I like the pruning, I like the changes, so I'm gonna give it a good as well. Especially defensive part looking to be pretty good. Alright, let's go towards Ret Paladin right now. Alright, so for Ret Paladin, honestly pretty boring Apex talents, just passive damage. Like nothing interesting happening. They're one of the most boring ones on Ret Paladin, but however, a lot of other stuff has been added on top of Ret Paladin that will make it lucrative option once again for the beginner players. So no passive holy power. Unfortunately, that becomes a case. Also, Ret Paladin might become slightly harder to play next expansion, just because of your holy power could be at times not as freely generated as before. So you could find an issue doing that. So again, your spikes every 30 seconds are gonna be still present. You're gonna still have them. Crusader Strike is deleted, unfortunately. Templar Strike is added instead, and also Final Reckoning plus Executioner Sentence is now one talent, so you have an option to still blast your keyboard, whatever you want to do. Let's say you press your Executioner Sentence, right? You can spam your all buttons in AoE and you still can do prior damage because the AoE damage that you accumulate throughout Executioner Sentence will transfer to that prior target. The problem is it's every minute. So the prior target damage every minute will be cool, will be good. But what happens when you don't have that one and there's a prior target to kill? What happens is you do zero prior target. That's what happens, you know? Or I guess not zero, but like small amount, which still could be problematic depending on the group you're playing with, right? If you're the only one, if you're the only one that don't have prior target, it's fine. But if the rest don't have it as well, then it could be an issue, right? I would say that. Divine Hammer is now a passive, and it's only from Templar, right? So previously, Divine Hammer was a something that you played all the time on the general tree, but nowadays it's only part of Templar. Let me just try to type it for you so you can see it. There you go. Right, Divine Hammer. So previously was part of the Retribution Paladin tree. It was 1 minute. They nerfed it to 2 minutes, and now they said, you know what? It seems like we cannot really balance the specs, so let me make it as a passive. So every time you press Divine Toe, you proc Divine Hammer, right? I can't say that doesn't suck, especially if you're actually playing Herald, you would lose it, but it seems like Templar might be still the go-to spec so far for the Retribution Paladin. Nonetheless, I would say I'm not too impressed with Ret Paladin in general, so I'm going to put it as a mid. Could have been much better. I think the core of the spec is pretty much the same, close to the same, so not too surprised. Moving forward to a Survival Hunter. Alright, so Survival Hunter likely got one of the coolest reworks that each spec has gotten, in a sense of visually cooling. I'm going to show you in a bit why exactly, but what they're trying to do here is they're trying to incentivize using Raptor Strike as part of your core rotation, because your Apex talents are focusing on the Raptor Strike, which pretty much makes them cleave up to 5 targets and have insane prior damage while using so. So just to give you a quick overview here. Every time you have a Raptor Strike or Swipe, because that's what Raptor Strike becomes Raptor Swipe, which is what hits on multiple targets. Benefit from tip of the spear and provoke an additional 300% effectiveness, which can be very good for the proud target. So I feel like maybe in a small count mobs, you might be pressing Raptor Strike, Raptor Swipes, right? But let's say if it's like a lot of targets, you still might want to avoid it and just spam your Wildfire Bomb, for example. This new bomb here, you see it in a bit, but that bomb is very good. Alright, so you can actually dual wield. You can have, for example, daggers, one-hander, which can be problematic, especially if one-hander can proc. For example, the two-hander might not proc core survival spells quicker than the one-hander combo, so I'm not sure how they're going to balance that one out, but we'll see. But yeah, you can have, for example, double sword, double dagger, which is pretty cool, right? Yeah, so butcher got removed, flank got deleted as well. So CA plus spearhead is now takedown. Takedown is a new major cooldown for the people that do not know here. Let me just try to show. I think it's right here, right? Yeah. So this is a combination of two talents together, so you don't have to press two separate abilities. So I like that. I like that. Takedown looks to be pretty cool. It looks pretty simplistic to use, and it's similar to what you used to. Playstyle, very easy. It's pretty much similar to what it is in the World of 10. However, you have two new abilities that you can think about. First one is Boomstick, pretty much. I mean, I'll show you right now what Boomstick is like. Massive blast, you know. And the second one is a Flame Fang Pitch, which is a massive Molotov cocktail, right? Imagine a, I don't know if anybody played Counter-Strike, but you throw a Molotov cocktail, it burns the ground. Similar thing, right? But it's a ground visual. Unfortunately, can't really move much, which can be problematic at times. So yeah, Raptor Strike seems to be a very good thing. Anyway, so the main problem here is it's cool, visually pleasant. However, it looks to be incomplete, too simple for me. Because it's really 3 buttons right now. Perhaps they're still cooking on that regard, but I guess time is gonna tell us. So far, I would say good. I like it. Moving forward to Enhanced Shaman. Alright, so Enhanced Shaman has gotten one of the coolest Apex talents to date. Honestly, out of all specs that I talk about today, Enhanced might have the best here. Might have the best Apex talents. Very strong, very cool visually, and generally makes a lot of sense. First of all, button blow on Enhanced, much better. Barrier to entry, much better, which means if you're a beginner player, you can pick up Shaman and Enhanced Shaman without having a PhD on Shaman, right? So you don't need to be thinking that much. Obviously, it's still going to be a hard spec, but not as hard as Warcraft 10. However, because they're removing the weak hours, they're removing, for example, AFUI, it could be difficult for you to track specific cooldowns or procs. Hence why I feel like the difficulty could be specifically targeting that. Okay, they're focusing on Crashing Light to be the center of your rotation. Why that is the case, uncertain, but they are making sure your Crashing Light will be used even on single target. Doom Winds now is going to be very strong. However, whenever you play Ascendance, that pretty much removes it, right? If you play Ascendance, that's pretty much baked inside Doom Winds, which is pretty cool to say the least. Which, again, if you don't play Ascendance, you can play DRE, and you become Gamba class, and you're still gonna have insane burst every minute, which is very good for Mythic Plus. If your spec has measured cooldowns on a minute timer, that is insane. That means every single pack you can smoke them. That's why Retribution Paladin is the king on low level keys, because they have burst pretty much all the time. Voltic Blaze is another very cool talent to have, honestly. I'm surprised this works so good at Enhanced compared to Ellie. For Ellie, it's trash, but for Enhanced, it's very good so far. So yeah, I'm big fan of it. Unfortunately, Feral Spirit is now a passive. I know people have been complaining about that one, and still majority of your toolkit is capped on 5 to 6 targets. There are some possibilities to be soft capped, obviously, but there are a few hard-hitting spells that are 5 to 6 targets. I think Lava Lash also became baseline instead of a talent, which is pretty cool, I guess. But yeah, overall, I'm a big fan of Hands. I love the direction of the spec, and I'm looking forward to be testing it next week once beta opens. For the people that do not know, beta opens on Tuesday evening for Europe or Wednesday morning. So I'm going to be testing a lot of stuff once they are unlocking it first. But that's pretty much everything so far for Enhance. We're going for the Windwalker Monk. Alright, so a little bit of a disappointing news for the all Monk enjoyers. I know you guys been waiting for the cool rework of Monk, and while they've done a good part of the rework, I just feel like it's still incomplete. But I'll still talk about it. So Windwalker Monk so far don't have any. So the only major cooldown that you have here is Zenith. That is the new major cooldown. It's called Zenith. That's what you're gonna be playing around. Forget about all of your clones. That is the only thing you wanna think about. Zenith, right? So that is your minor and major cooldowns. Has 2 charges now. Wooden Dragon Punch is on the same talent node as Windlord. I'm gonna show right now, which is, again, previously you always had those 2 available, but now you're gonna choose either CDR or just Free Dump. Now, which one you're gonna choose, it depends on which healer talents you'll be playing yourself. Slicing Winds, unfortunately, is still part of your rotation. I know a lot of people have been disliking this part. I honestly don't mind that. It reminds me of that mini game Blizzard made several months ago. I forgot about it, but yeah, it was pretty cool, honestly. I personally don't mind it. I think Apex talents are pretty good. Passive damage plus damage on demand, which can be a lucrative option for you. But overall speaking, I expected a lot from Monk. However, the core rotation is similar. Visually speaking, probably one of the best picks so far. Look at this. Just purely visually. Look at this. Right. Look at that. Like, visually speaking, looks pretty cool, right? But the core rotation is the same. Like, exactly similar to what you've been playing. Except that you have to play now around Zenith. And your Apex talents are also focusing around Zenith as well. Right? Which some people have found to be pretty bad. Except now that you're gonna lose either Wooden Dragon Punch or your Strike with Windlord. Overall, I would say decent. Not too bad. I'd say mid. Alright, so let's talk about rogues. Rogues. First of all, Assa Rogue. Now, likely the biggest W done for rogues in a long time, but Assa Rogue has received a substantial rework. And when I say substantial rework, I mean like core rework, right? Your rotation, much easier. Less button bloat. Crimson Tempest has been a rework, which means the application of Bleach is gonna be much easier for you. Your Apex talents are focusing on Envenom a lot more compared to before, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. That's what Assa Rogues were known for. Shift is no longer going to be part of your rotation. Thank God. This can be a utility unlock for you, because previously you had to hold shift for your rotation. Now you can use it for removing enrage effects, which is obviously pretty good. You don't have to be as reliant on having stealth on your opener, although it is going to be beneficial to you still, but it's not going to be like a mandatory and be like, yo guys, wait for the mobs to die, I need to hit stealth, etc. It's going to be much better than before. So think about that one. Definitely better single target Mythic Plus. A lot of talent choices, talent nodes have been possible to be played both in Raid and Mythic Plus, and while you don't have to sacrifice that much single target anymore, it's still gonna be looked as a positive node for you, because previously in the World Within, you had to sacrifice a lot of single target talents to play AoE talents, right? Nowadays, the flexibility is much better, which obviously is a positive thing for you. Yeah, Restart Fix, Fox and Venom, and also more energy gain. Now, this has been also a major point for Assa Rogue, where sometimes you would just run out of energy, gotta wait, for example, a couple of seconds, pocket of time where they did nothing, similar to Feral Druid. Nowadays, energy has been getting much better. So overall, I love this stuff. I love it. Big thumbs up. Let's go towards Sub Rogue and talk about what exactly have changed for Sub Rogue. Apex talents are good. They're focusing on a shadow clones. Pretty much imagine like a Assassin's Creed shadow clones. That's similar to what Apex talents are going to be for you. However, the rework done to Sub Rogue is pretty bad. I honestly don't like it. I tried to fiddle around for past couple weeks and I just couldn't figure out why they've done so, but I'm gonna give it to you the art of it. So easy rotation. Flagellation got removed, thank God. That was so annoying to play around Flagellation. Shadow Strike is now going to be your major focus on Sub Rogue. Now, previously, that was your major focus on Sub Rogue if you were playing Trickster. This token, there was a lot of other abilities you would juggle, for example, Black Powdering a lot more, but it seems like they are really trying to focus on Shadow Strike. However, Vanish now becomes one of your major cooldowns. Previously, Assa Rogue had that one as a problem. Now, Sub Rogue is going to inherit it. I'll talk about Outlaw later. I'm not going to spoil it, but Outlaw got much better. You're going to have less bursts now because your cities are half gone. However, cooldowns are hasted, which means you benefit actively from having Bloodlust, PI, etc. Symbol now is only going to be buffing your finishers and giving you energy. Now, previously, Symbol gave damage. Look at this now. Symbol only restores energy and increases your finishing moves by X percentage. The CDR of Secret Technique is gone. Now I have a flat 25-second CDR. I guess I'm not sure if there's any talents to make it shorter or longer. I need to research that. Perhaps there are. I just can't remember all of the 39 spec talents by heart. But now instead of actively having to fish for CDR, you're just getting just passive 25-second cooldown to it. The reason why that is because they want to reduce the barrier to entry of Sub Rogue and making sure a lot more people are playing the spec as as one. That's about it. That's the tier. I think overall, I don't like the direction they are going with Sub Rogue. So for me, I'm gonna put as a bad one. Perhaps in the future they will change that, but I would assume you'll be kind of the combust mage, right? During cooldowns, you do a lot of damage, and every single time you don't have major cooldowns. Only during your dance you might not do that much damage. So that's something that pretty much worries me. Outlaw Rogue, although I logged out of Outlaw Rogue, Outlaw I think received the most changes across all Rogue specs, and I'll talk about exactly what they've done so far. Your tier set is pretty good. Passive damage across the board, which doesn't really change. I guess it could change the way that you react to procs, but overall just mostly passive damage to you. I'll show you right now in a second. However, the biggest change for Outlaw has been a rotation. Now, previously, if you guys know, you had to play around Crackshot, Upper Hand, for example. That has been removed. You'll no longer have to be a degenerate and spam, have uptime all the time, be in Vanish, do this and that. That is completely gone. So no more permanent AR. That will not exist in the next expansion. Adrenaline Rush will not be maintained at 100%. The pace of the spec will slow down noticeably. Okay, it's still gonna be a quick spec, but it's gonna be much slower compared to the last expansion. So that's a good thing if you are looking to try Outlaw and you weren't good at Outlaw. Energy starvation is a massive issue so far for Outlaw. I've been trying to spec for quite a bit, and it seems like whatever talents I've been choosing, the energy starvation has been real for me, and I'm just actually getting annoyed. Luckily, I have Blade Rush, which kind of helps me with my energy. But overall, I would say perhaps it's something to think about in the next reset or next time beta is available, to give them some passive energy regen or allow spells to regenerate more energy, perhaps buffing some talents that could help out. So Rogue the Bones got actually completely reworked. It has now kind of a stages, I guess you can call it, where you are guaranteed to have a XYZ proc. Pretty much TLDR, that is, they're trying to make Outlaw less Gamba spec. Because people love to call it Gamba this, Gamba that, but they're trying to make it less RNG, more consistent throughout the board. And if you roll, for example, set 2, set 3, or set 4, it kind of like adds the down layer. I'm not sure if they have finalized exactly how Roll the Bones will work out, but that's pretty much what we have right now on Alpha. Perhaps that will change in the next several weeks, but overall, I love the direction of the spec that they're heading. It allows for people to actually experience Outlaw instead of being that frightening hard spec to play. And I'm looking forward myself to test out Outlaw once beta is available. Overall, good stuff. One small problem, as obviously on top of the energy problems, I feel like you have to sacrifice utility for damage, more specifically right here. If you look at this, so in order for me to pick those talents for utility, I need to sacrifice damage. And I don't want to sacrifice damage for utility because why would I? So I'm going to lose my 5% stamina, and I'm going to lose my CDR on blind, which can be problematic. Keep it in mind. So yeah, that's something that I really not look forward to do so. But small price to pay for the rework, I guess. Overall good. There's a few more millions I want to talk about. Warriors to begin with. So Fury Warrior. Alright, so Apex Talents on Fury Warrior has been problematic. I know a lot of people have been complaining about so the ability of every single time there is a downtime of a Fury Warrior, you're gonna feel the pain. Like you will be pretty much put at a disadvantage, right? So if you read them, they're trying to make the way that you want to amp up your recklessness, and after recklessness is done, they will give you a buff, right? So that's pretty much how you jiggle the Apex Talents. The problem comes with this is extremely bad whenever you have to swap targets, for example, whenever you have downtime, whenever you're not fighting an active target. So this will promote for an unhealthy playstyle where you have to permanently chain in order for Fury not lose damage. There's several good news, however. There's a new talent, there's a lot of new talents, but several notably ones here are going to be Orange Fury now is the main focus of your tier set, and therefore they made it the way that it's soft cap to 8 targets, right? So instead of you, for example, being capped on 5, you're going to have 8 cap, which is obviously a good thing, because something that Fury Warrior has been struggling for the past couple of years has been the damage, and especially uncapped damage, like mass AoE, so that can help a little bit, I guess. There's one more new cool talent called Kill or Be Killed, which pretty much acts as a cheat death. So every single time that you die, you pretty much resurrect, and you have a set amount of seconds to kill the person that killed you, and if you don't, you just die, but if you do, you resurrect, and that's like a 5-minute cooldown, which is pretty cool. Also, utility-wise, Warrior has gotten a lot better. You have now not only an interrupt, but also a second interrupt. Heroic Throw silences non-players for 3 seconds, and that is like a 15-second cooldown. So essentially, you can do Pummel, which is your interrupt, Heroic Throw to disrupt, then you can have Stormbolt, then you can have Shockwave. AoE, so that fear previously was capped, now it's uncapped AoE fear. Rallying Cry has been buffed to give a lot more damage in Mythic Plus, a lot more health in Mythic Plus and Raid. You also have a Tremor Totem with Berserking Shout. You also have a Mass Grip with a Champion Spear, for example. That also accounts for both Arms, Fury, and Prot as well. Think that in mind. Have a new talent to further enhance your Shout. As you can see, CDR, Piercing House is going to give movement speed to your party members. Kind of like a Windrush of Shaman. So a lot of cool utility done to the spec itself. I really like that. And personally, again, while I love this, I just don't like the direction of Fury Warrior is going, specifically about the Apex Talents. But overall, I think it's been a pretty good news for Fury Warrior in general. So I'm gonna put mixed feeling on Fury Warrior for now, just because of your Apex Talents. But overall, solid. Now, on top of what I already said about a Warrior, about general talents, I'm gonna focus now on Arms Warrior specifically. Love the Apex Talents, just generally passive damage. And on top of what I've just discussed, you're also gonna have better defensive as an Arms Warrior. Previously, you guys knew that Fury Warrior was way tankier than Arms. Nowadays, Arms has gotten an extra defensive cooldown. I'm not sure right now. It's also your baseline. It is... I can't find it right now. I forgot the name of it, but he had a new defensive cooldown. I need to find it still, but yeah, I think it was like a 20-second cooldown from what I remember, but I can't find it right now. Yeah, it kind of slipped through my mind, unfortunately. I can't remember every single spell of 39 specs. My apologies, but once I remember, I will guys let you know. But yeah, you get a new defensive option for it, which is much better than before, which again is gonna provide passive, or in general, more on-demand durability when on every single pack if you need it, obviously. Yeah, so School Splitter Ravager got deleted. That's something that they're actively working on improving the specs. Arms Warrior will be easier to track. Your core rotation is similar, but now you're going to be focusing a lot more on Overpower and also Execute. Previously, at times you were ignoring Execute, and they're trying to shift some of the power to Overpower instead of Mortal Strike, although it is looking to be pretty early to make a deduction so far, but uncertain why exactly they're going that route, but overall, I'm welcoming all the changes done to the specs itself. Similar to, by the way, just want to mention this for Fury as well. Fury is going to have much higher priority when it comes down to Execute as well. Previously, Execute was pretty useless from Fury Warrior. Now it's going to be much better. Still better on Arms Warrior compared to Fury Warrior. Also, a new talent for Arms Warrior. I think it's called Max Execution, I think, which provided... here we go, Max Execution. Cleave and Whirlwind deals additional damage on targets below 25%. So, on all targets below 25%, you will clap them better. So, I love that. I love that. One of the favorite talents right now on Arms Warrior myself. Once again, we're going to be testing it out next week, see how it is. But overall, I'm a big fan of Arms. I would say pretty good. And last but not least, let's talk about Death Knights. First on the list is going to be Frost Decay. Honestly, Frost Decay didn't get anything new. Like, apart from the minor rework, I feel like the core of the spec, it remains exactly as it is in the Warcraft Season 3. They are happy with the way Frost Decay is, and they will keep it this way. Apex talents are good, they'll focus a lot more on your minor cooldowns. The whole team of Frost Decay is shifted towards Frostworm in the Midnight Season 1. That's what you want to be playing at times, because that's what your Apex talents are focused on, which is good. Now, defensively, you have gotten a little bit weaker, but I would still expect you to be one of the weakest, the strongest, durability spec out there, especially as DPS. Obliterate tuning will become much better because they now made it as partial frost damage, which make tuning better. Previously, naked Obliterate did no damage, but with Killing Machine, you were doing insane damage, so that's fine. Soul Reaper now, no longer. It's gone. It's only going to be Unholy. Yeah, overall, the rotation and the core of the spec remains very, very similar to before. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Unholy DK. Unholy DK has gotten a lot of changes, guys. Now, the whole spec got flipped upside down, in a way. I'll tell you exactly why that is. So first of all, no face-turning wounds anymore. Now you have lesser ghouls. Now, those lesser ghouls, imagine something like Diablo 2 Necromancer playstyle is very similar. You spawn skeletons or ghouls. There's a way to explode them now. In Diablo 2, it was called Corpse Explosion. And WoW is going to be called Putrefy. That's going to be your core ability that you will be focusing on. It looks pretty visually unpleasant, but it will be a very powerful ability once you amp it up. Your major cooldowns now are going to be a Raise Army of the Dead, which is going to be minute and a half. Previously, there was a long cooldown. Now it's going to be much smaller. Again, the Putrefy ability is right here. DT is now going to be at only 12 seconds, and every single time that you cast Coil or Epidemic, it's going to extend it by 0.5 seconds instead of 1 second, which means lesser time on direct transformation, which is fine, because previously, if you guys remember, Season 2 of Warcraft, as Unholy DK, you were maintaining like 30-second DT during your major cooldowns or haste amps, which is insane, so I'm happy that it's a lot more balanced. One of the best Apex talents, by the way, for Unholy, so yeah, I'm looking forward to test them out, because they're gonna change the way that you play based on the Apex talents you're proccing. So that's pretty cool. A lot of interesting abilities. I don't want to talk about all of them, but Scorch Strike applies Virtual and Plague instead of Outbreak, which can be actually very good, because every single time you're gonna add mobs on top of the already existing mobs that have, for example, Virtual and Plague, you don't have to press Outbreak again. You can just press Scorching Strike, which is pretty good. Army of Dead Main City, as I already said it, but it's pretty lackluster right now. I feel like it's undertuned. Apocalypse got removed. Unfortunately, that is I'm not too happy about one. And currently, Capstones, I don't like the tuning of it. I think they suck. Perhaps they will be buffing them as the weeks to come, but pretty disappointing so far about Capstones. But overall, spec looks to be a completely new experience coming to Midnight, and I myself am very excited to give it a try. Anyway, guys, that's everything so far about all the melee in Midnight. As the end of beta is near, 2 days until the end is over. I waited a long time to make this video. I hope you guys appreciate it. Now follow the channel if you guys like it. Tomorrow should be the range edition of this, and then every single week expect updates for Mythic Plus, or in general Midnight beta experience, all the way until February or March. So things will change, things will be around, so make sure to follow the channel to stay on top of the news. Until then, peace out, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.